Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking about leather, suede, and fur. And these are all animal products that we use as textiles. Okay, so to start off, leather is basically just the skin and hide of mammals, reptiles, fish, or birds. And it is processed so it remains flexible and it doesn't rot or decay. So the most common type of leather is from cattle, but leather can come from basically any animal skin. Usually the higher quality leather is found on the backs and sides of an animal versus legs and the belly of an animal. Those usually see more wear and tear throughout the animal's life, so they're lower quality. So leather has been used since prehistoric times for shelter and clothing. Animals have been around forever, so that was an obvious resource for people to use. It's assumed that the process of vegetable tanning, which I'll talk about on the next slide, was originally discovered by the Hebrews, and then the process of chrome tanning was invented in the 19th century. So when they make leather, they'll take all the hair off of the skin or the hide, and then it'll dry. But the dried skins are brittle and likely to decay, so they have to go through a process called tanning. And tanning is just a chemical treatment on the skins and hides that makes them pliable and resistant to water and rot. So today, chrome tanning is the most common, but vegetable tanning is better for the environment, so it's becoming a more preferred method because vegetable tanning doesn't use any chemicals. It's just usually they just usually use bark from a tree, and that's an old method of tanning. So after the hide is tanned, they'll usually have a filler that covers imperfections in the hide, and then it can be dyed, printed on, glazed, or embossed, and this just will add texture, color, and gloss to the leather to make it a more finished product. So a big thing about leather is the grain. The grain is just the marking on the skin, and that varies depending what animal the leather came from. There are some undesirable qualities with leather, like sometimes you don't want to see the scars or the vein marks, brand marks, or skin disease on an animal, and that's something you can't really control. Leather is generally pretty durable, but it picks up oils and grease easily, so it requires special cleaning. And often it has to be re-dyed after it's cleaned, just because the dye doesn't always stay in the leather while it's being cleaned. So leather is often used in apparel, like leather jackets, boots, saddles, wall coverings, upholstery, so like furniture. It's used for gloves, and wallets, luggage, and a whole bunch of other things. So it's a really versatile product. Okay, so then there's suede, and this is kind of like leather. It's a lot more higher quality, and it's made from the underside of the animal skin. So the shiny part of leather is the top of the hide, and then suede is usually made from the underside of the hide, so it's softer. And they do make some fabrics that look and feel similar to suede, but they're lighter and easier to clean because you can't send suede through the washing machine. So in the late 18th century, suede was invented by the Swedish to produce soft luxury gloves for nobility. And for a while it was used only for gloves, but eventually they began to use it for other things. So when they make suede, they take the top stiff layer of the animal hide off. They separate it from the underside of the hide, and that underside is then tanned just like leather, and then they sand it to create a soft surface. And when they sand the underside of the animal hide, that just kind of roughs up little tiny fibers that make it look kind of fuzzy and soft. So suede is soft and it's dull. It's not shiny like leather is. It's pretty durable, but it's easily damaged by moisture, so you have to be careful with that. It's pliable, so it's really easy to move, and it does require special cleaning. So leather is often used in coats, jackets, dresses, upholstery, wall coverings, shoes, bags, and a lot of other things. Okay, the last one is fur. So fur is any animal skin that still has the original hair, fleece, or fibers attached to it. And a lot of common furs are fox, rabbit, mink, beaver, and raccoon. But that's not limited to those ones. It can literally be any animal skin that still has the hair attached to it. So in recent years, the demand for fur has gone down a lot because it is really expensive, but it's also seen as inhumane by a lot of people just because of the fact that it comes from an animal. And so that is why faux fur is pretty popular. That's just fake fur, and it's a lot cheaper and more humane. So fur has been used for shelter and clothing since the beginning of history, right? Animals have been around for forever, and it's always been an important part of fashion. These are more recent pictures, but it was used for a long time, right? Royalty often wore fur, so it's always been important. But the first faux furs were introduced in the 1950s, and fur is still used today, but it's very expensive, and of course some people consider it to be inhumane. So when they produce fur, obviously they'll skin the animal first, and then they dress the fur to prevent decay and keep it soft and pliable. And so dressing is pretty similar to tanning leather and suede. It's another chemical treatment. Then after the fur is dressed, it's combed, brushed, beaten, and then the fibers are cleaned and polished. And then after that, the fur can either be bleached or dyed. And there's a lot of different methods of dyeing that can create different patterns or colors to imitate different animals or just enhance the natural animal fur color. Okay, so fur requires a lot of special care to keep it looking nice and keep it well maintained. So fur consists of the animal skin, obviously, and then it has short pile fibers, which are usually softer and fuzzier, and then depending on the animal, it can have long guard hairs, which are a little coarser, but they can still be pretty soft. Fur has good heat retention, so it's really warm, and it's also breathable. Fur is often used in apparel, rugs, wall hangings, toys, and blankets. And that's it on the animal textiles.